Hi. So the biggest challenge facing most agencies is a return to inflationary pressures. So this is about the 10% inflation challenge. We're not there yet, but we're going to get closer to it over the coming months. And I did a bit of research, and the last time that inflation was this high was 1991. Brian Adams was probably number one with Everything I Do. The Soviet Union had collapsed, and inflation was 8 or 9%. Um, But as it was 1991, even I wasn't working in the marketing services sector then. I started in 1994, so I've never experienced this type of inflationary pressure when I'm working for an agency, and there is a real problem. So we're going to talk about why, what inflation means to an agency, what we can do, and most importantly, what I think we can do about it, because we talk about why it matters. Now, this is a purely theoretical example because no agency would sit still as this was happening. But if revenue was flat and your costs were rising at 10%, which is possible, then you could go from a well-run agency making a 20% margin in 2 years to an agency struggling to break even. Now, obviously, this is theoretical because no agency would stand still, and we will adapt. And that how we adapt is part of what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes' time. If you start off from a slightly worse position, it could take a year. If your margin is just making it into double digits, that could be wiped out within a year. So, this is a real problem. It's also a perfect storm. I mean, this is always a chance to put a dark and brooding picture in, and I'll take it. But the perfect storm is we've got inflation, but we've also got a talent shortage as well. So, if we don't respond to the fact that a 6.2% pay increase just keeps people level with inflation, they're going to be looking for more than that for a pay increase. And let's say an 8% pay increase is effectively at the moment a 1.8% pay increase, so not a huge amount in terms of real terms. And if they don't get that, there is the real chance that some will leave to your competitors who will pay 8% to 10% and more to recruit people so that they can grow. So perfect storm: talent shortage, inflation. So what can we do? We're not going to shrug our shoulders and fatalistically give in to inflation. No, there's things that we can do. The obvious one, the easy one in many ways, is that we increase our rate card for new business, for pitch wins, for negotiations. We increase the rate card. If you also got a blended rate, I've talked about this before, but if you have a blended rate, then think about having a slightly more nuanced, a slightly more detailed rate card. I think the stats show, I think it was a year ago, that the WOW bench press survey showed that agencies with blended rate cards had lower margins than agencies with a more detailed rate card. But if you have a blended one, think about putting a senior rate, a rating for your senior team, possibly one for your junior team as well, if you want to have that flexibility for different types of work. I think we've got to be a little bit more nimble if you just have the one rate card. But if you do, increase it. Tricky one, and very easy to write down, much harder to do. So increasing fees and reducing scope for existing clients. So I think the basis for this, comes from a review of clients, of all of your clients. So performance, and then think about the problems, and this is specifically for clients which are underperforming and not as profitable as we'd like them to be. And then let's have an honest assessment of why that is. Has the scope creep changed over time? More and more little bits being pushed into scope. Now is the time to push back on those. Have we underestimated this in the first place, and we're struggling under this? What can we do about that? Are we over-servicing? Is that conscious because we want to invest, or we just have been over-servicing and we can pull back? So, we could do. Are we producing good results for our client? And obviously, if we are, that puts us in a stronger position to have negotiation. client. So what's the relationship like? Is it a new client? Are they a blocker? Are they a supporter? And then other. And this could be, it could be our inefficiency. It could be we've got a junior member of the team working on this. So we need an honest warts and all assessment of each client before we think about going back to ask for more money. We need to shift the targets for our clients so that this is done on revenue per head. All clients will form a bell curve to a certain extent of clients who are profitable, clients who are less profitable in the middle, and clients who are not as profitable as we need them to be. So that prior to this inflation, we might have been looking at the red clients as underperforming, adding 10% to that, and 10% to that, and we've captured a whole lot more clients where we are not where we need to be. So we need to think about cost control. It could be that we use more or less freelance resource. We could have a smaller team and more freelance, which we pull in as and when. We may even decide to pull in an extra team member and have reduced freelance costs. So think about that. Remote part-time working, always be flexible in terms of staff, where they are and whether they're full-time or not. Be wary of committed costs, so don't take on any large commitments, and always maintain a balance sheet buffer, so they've got enough cash in there, in the agency to as a safeguard against hard times. But also look at service lines. Look at I've called out client services and project management. Possibly should include something strategy in there as well, where historically agencies haven't been as good at charging for our time and our ideas. Think about additional service lines that we could add in. So these are things that we can do, and obviously, some are easier than others. Make a plea here for the agency basics. Whether inflation is 1% or 10%, times are good or hard, we should always be doing some revenue forecasting and budgeting so we know what's coming up, and we know the size. Don't do an ostrich, don't bury your head. Face this problem head on, and look at forecasts for the next 3 months. Every agency is going to have a drop off in 3 months or 6 months. So what's the pipeline? What's the CRM? What's the marketing solution for that? Think about capacity. What capacity we have with the existing team, and we can what revenue. And by capacity, I mean revenue. What revenue can we generate? That's what we can do. In terms of communication to our clients, I think this is a nice line to start with, and is how can we make this work for both of us? The clients are going to be under pressure as well. They're going to be facing increased costs. You will just be one of probably many suppliers, and so it's not going to be an easy sell. So, but we're not, as I said, we're not a mobile or utility company. We can't just send a letter saying your calls have gone up by 8%, your heating has gone up by 52%, whatever it is. We have to negotiate, and that approach will be dictated by our inefficiencies. We've got to sort those out first before we approach our clients. Quality of our results, as I said, if we've got good results, if we're producing for our clients, then I think we're in a far stronger position. And obviously the nature and the quality of the client relationship. And obviously, how can we make this work for both of us is one approach. Another approach which might be useful is to think about talking to your clients in terms of sharing this, not passing on the full 8% or 10%, but maybe 4%, 5%. So you're sharing the burden. How can we make this work for both of us? We both take a bit of pain. And I think whatever you do, I think don't ignore this. This is a little bit hyperbole for me, but this could be a tsunami coming to agencies, and there will be agencies who will not survive over the next year or two because this will tip them over the edge. So we need to act, and we need to act now. First thing I would do, and I will be advising my clients to do, is the client review. Rate card and client review. These can be done relatively quickly. Rate card can be put up today. Any new proposal which goes out can be at the new rate. Obviously, it still has to be competitive, so it's not a panacea. We need to address the underperforming clients, could possibly all of our clients, and to see where we have got the opportunity. And it won't be for all clients. Some doors will be closed rather firmly in your face, but some there'll be a conversation, and whether it's collaboratively, pain sharing, you will be able to pass on some of the increased costs that you will be facing. So 10% inflation charge, it's going to be tough, but I think if you bear this in mind and start taking steps now until it becomes more of a problem, then I think those agencies that do that will survive. Thank you.